Good luck, everyone. Good afternoon, beautiful beings of light. Welcome to the Wisdom Circle. Once again, the six of us get together. I'm so excited to be here with you ladies today. Thank you for being here. Today, Wisdom Seeker Joan is going to be our hostess with the mostess, so she can lead us off. But did anybody happen to think to pull cards for the show today? Because
Yeah, I did.
you did. What did you get? I thought I'd pull a card.
I just pulled one, and it's connection and attunement.
I don't think we need another card. That's beautiful. I won't bother. But I think that's what we're all here for, connection and attunement. Hi, Joyful Journey and Lark Kemper, Gina M., Samantha, Akila, Carolyn Adams, Starfish. Oh my goodness, and Lark and T-Barb and Julie. Wow, it's filling up quick. Thank you guys for being here. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about how we talk to our spirit guides. So I think that'll be fun. Wisdom Seeker Joan, I'm just going to turn it right on over to you.
That sounds great. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I'm excited to have this conversation today. It's one of the first things people start asking about when they start to get involved with spirituality, I think. And one of the main points I want to make is that there is really only one right way to do this, to get in touch with your spirit guides and angels and other guides. And that is the way that works for you. So each one of us probably has a little bit of different take on this. So whatever we say today, take it in, synthesize it, think what, take what works for you and give it a try, but don't think that there's only one right way. And I think this is a really important thing to remember, because after I'm going to go through some slides really quick, but then we're all going to talk about how we got in touch and what works for us and how the spirits and angels and guides communicate with us. And I don't know, haven't posed that questions to everyone, but I bet we're going to have a slightly different take on it. So with that said, let's see if I can open up these slides. How do I do this? Present slides. I can't get the slides open. It's in the tray, but there we go. Thank you, Jean. That was probably Jean doing the service. Wonderful. And is there a way that I can read the notes and advance the slides?
If you put your cursor up to the slide, you should see arrows.
There we go. Now I've got it full screen. Okay. And
you will not be able to read the notes.
Well, there you go. That's fine. So let's see. And how do I advance? Present.
No, you don't have to do that. Put your finger up on the slide that's showing.
I don't have that kind. I've got my cursor on the slide that's showing, and
it doesn't come up with a movement.
No.
Then you'll have to ask me to move it.
Okay, could you move
it, Jean?
Yes. Yeah, I don't see a way to advance it. So anyhow, this is taken from the book Getting in Touch with Spirit by Sonia Choquette. Ask Your Spirit Guides. Ask your guides connecting to your divine support system. Some of this is mine, but a lot of it is from her. So let's go to the next slide. And I like the way she presented this, because rather than starting out by saying, okay, let's do a meditation and we'll go down a path, and you're going to go over a bridge and you'll sit on the bench at the other side of the bridge, and then you ask your spirit guide to come in and you ask him his name. And I've tried that meditation, and I've tried the one that goes down the hill and the one that goes up into the castle and all of these things, and he doesn't show up. So I love this approach because she is talking about the things you need to do before you even attempt to talk to your spirit guides or connect with them. And that is activating awareness of the spirit. So you first recognize and feed your own spirit, and then try to perceive the vibration of spirits around and other beings around you. And then you try connecting to your angel because she believes that they're a little bit easier to get in touch with. And then there's a preparation step, more kind of inner work. And only then do you try to sit down and really connect with your spirit guides. So could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So I think this is great. To recognize and feed your spirit. First, you have to recognize that we are all spirits and we're all connected. We're just our little individual fractal of the divine source is currently housed in these individual bodies. But at our essence is a spirit. So tune into your own spirit and do what you can to get to know your own spirit a little better. Think about what does your spirit like and need? What kinds of things make you come alive? And do more of that, whether that's singing or dancing or exercising or being with friends. Just kind of make a little list. When was the last time you really had a good time? And whether you were with other people or on your own, what are the things that kind of bring you to life? Or also those things that you do where you kind of lose time, like you're so into this drawing or writing or, an art project or creating that you look up and time, an hour's gone by and you didn't even recognize it. So those are the things to do to feed your spirit. Can we move to the next slide, please? And then they suggest to try to connect to the spirits of beings around you. And I thought this was a nice, simple idea to just move your consciousness from your head to your heart and think of a specific person, or it could be a pet or a plant or whatever. And just without any pressure on yourself, just try to tune into that vibration. And if you don't really feel the vibration, think about the qualities of that person when they're at their highest spirit. What are the things you love about them? What are their qualities that are most enjoyable to you? And see if you can kind of get into that feeling. And then describe to yourself what you feel. Is it a heavy feeling? Is it light, quick, dull, bright? Whatever it is. Does a color come to mind? Does an image come to mind? Spirit works in all kinds of ways, and each of us is tuned to receive in a little bit different way. So if you don't, feel those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different descriptors, just tune into what you actually sense. Maybe it's not a feeling. Maybe it's something you see or hear, or another clair is coming through. So think about that. And next slide. Could we?
Isn't that it?
Nope. Oh, connect to your angel.
Yeah.
Oh, next. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Connect to your angel. Now, Sonia Choquette says that our angels are a little easier, especially our guardian angels or birth angels, to connect with. And she has suggested that when you go to sleep at night, to try to sense the energy in your room right at the foot of your bed before you go to sleep, and see if you can sense the presence of your angel. And say hello and ask for their name if you do sense them. And you should be prepared that it might be a name like, I don't know, or Betty, and rather than some sort of biblical sounding important name, because to angels, they're all about communication and they want something simple and that you'll remember. And if something doesn't come, you think up a name for your angel and say, can I call you this? And kind of feel for the answer. And then say that you're looking for a long, loving relationship and you're open to and grateful for their help. Kind of invite them in. Okay, next slide. And now the next step is to get ready to meet your guides. And this is the kind of inner work that I was talking about. Consider first, how open are you to their guidance? And I think all of us who have done readings, and sometimes I know that I've done this sometimes when I've received readings, you kind of go to someone and ask a question with really, I just want confirmation that what I want to happen is what you're going to tell me. It's sometimes that's not the guidance you're going to get. So you have to go into this knowing that if you just want a cheerleader, this might not be the right place. And so just kind of think, I want to get to know them. I want to be in communication with them, and I want their help in helping me along my path, even if it's not exactly the way I want to do it at this time. So think about how open you are to guidance and try to open up. Learn to quiet your mind and listen within. And that sounds kind of vague, but this is often through meditation or listening to music or going for a walk. And Sonia Choquette keeps saying that moving your body is one way to get into the flow. Is when your body is moving, the energy is moving, and the energy that can come to you and through you. She also said that you have to be very careful not to play the victim. There are people who come to a psychic or a reader or to their guides and have just kind of already made up their mind that no, there's no way out of this. I'm the victim here, and I just need some sympathy, or I need a way to manage a horrible situation. And that kind of shuts the door to other opportunities. So, and she does say being a victim and lack of forgiveness or judging, failure to forgive and actively judging, those are the three kind of toxins that will just shut the door completely to your guidance. So those are things to think about before you even try to get in touch with your guides. And next up, please. Okay, so to connect with your guides, she suggests to use meditation, music, other types of sounds, solfeggio tones, or binaural beats. You can be in a silent or guided meditation. And it all has to be what is most beneficial or what works for you. I know that guided meditations, that when I decided I wanted to do this presentation, I thought, okay, I'm going to do this as an experiment. I'm going to go on to websites that I use and look at all of there are a zillion different guided meditations for getting in touch with your guides. I'm going to try a different one every day, and then I'll come back and report about the ones that work. Well, I made it like about 3 days in, and they were just driving me crazy. That just isn't something. They're either too fast or too slow, or I don't like the music, or I don't like the tone of voice. And it does not get me in the mood, whereas the meditative music, that's it for me. So, find what works for you, and don't feel bad if you can't do it the way other people do it. Don't force things, don't feel like if you aren't connecting the way other people do, you're doing it wrong. And then even if you don't have someone come in and say, hi, I'm your spirit guide, I'm Bruce. Even if you can just get yourself in that high vibe state or that meditative state, just invite them in and ask for their help, whether you're hearing them or not, and say, I'd really like help in everything I'm doing today. Please make the way smooth for me. Give me easy parking places and just make every encounter I have today go smoothly. And then as you go through the day, kind of catch them in the act and say thank you when you get that parking place. And I'd kind of forgotten about asking for parking places. And just in preparation for this, have started doing it again. And it's like right near the door, wherever I'm going every time. And it's so fun to do that. And then also, so say thank you when that happens. Another thing to do to connect with your guides, and especially if you're just starting and you're not like really, you're getting used to the connection, is to just note the difference between a thought that you think and a thought that you receive. And then say, when you recognize that, say thank you. Because we can, like when you're out on a walk or you're doing something or vacuuming or whatever, all these thoughts go through your head. And sometimes one kind of sticks out. And I can't even describe the difference. But if you do it enough and you recognize, okay, where did that thought lead me? I had one thought that came to me when I was out for a walk a couple of weeks ago. And it was like, it was kind of odd, but it was the breadcrumbs that led from that thought to one discovery to the next, unveiled something that was, it prevented a lot of potential hassle. And I thought, yeah, that thought felt different. That wasn't me thinking that thought. That was my guides. And you better believe that I said thank you to them once it all became apparent how that all happened, how that unfurled. So recognize the thoughts, recognize the help, ask for help, recognize the answers, and say thanks.
Yeah.
And do we have any more? Oh, excuse me. Yes.
Joan, can we pause here a second?
Yes.
Because I think that at this point, as they're trying to meet their guides, and probably, I would have to say from my life, I probably met my guides way earlier than I thought, is trust. So that's the other part of all that you have to trust in what you're getting.
Definitely.
When I was younger and I got those different thoughts, I sometimes ran it through my logical mind, like, did I think that, or am I mentally ill? You're like, no, I'm fine, but where did that come from?
Yeah.
So part of it is learning to trust it, learning to trust what you get. I think that's one of the harder parts
I
to
totally
just go ahead
agree.
and say, oh, thank you.
Yeah,
And
it's
recognize, interact with them, say thank you for
yes.
talking to me or showing me that, or
trust is the hardest part for me. Self-trust was the hardest part for me.
And that's an
I
ongoing.
thought it was my monkey mind.
Yeah. And there's just a couple more slides, and I think there's just this one last one, if we could finish up. The next one, please. And this is exactly what Terry was talking about. It can be subtle. It can feel like your imagination. But try to distinguish, is that message a little different than your usual thoughts? Does it make you say, as Terry said, is this me? Is this my guides, or am I going crazy? And another thing is, it can emphasize an option you've already been considering. If you've been weighing, well, there's 3 different ways I could go, and all of a sudden you're thinking a little bit more about one of them. That's another way to kind of distinguish if it's your guides. All of a sudden one can seem a little more preferable. And then I think there might be one more. Thank you. That's it. So, thank you, Priscilla, for helping me through that.
No worries.
But can any of you tell me, what was it like when you first connected? Have you always been connected to your guides, or how did you get in contact? And anybody can go first.
I'll go first because I'm not one of those that had contact early on. And most of you there in this group did. In fact, I think all of you did, but me. I actually didn't always felt very intuitive, but until my husband David died in 2015 and started trying to contact me in 2016. I believe it. Yeah, first contact was 2016, just a few months after he died. And he was my first contact and my first known guide for several years. He was, because it was so easy to talk to him. I mean, it wasn't in the beginning. It was hard for me. Actually, I think it was hard for him too. We both had a bit of trouble trying to get the signals right. And go ahead.
So how did it work? Was it automatic writing? Was it in meditation? Were you just thinking of them and the thoughts came through, or how did it work?
A smoke alarm.
Oh, yeah.
A smoke alarm went off in my house, and it was acting not like your normal beep, 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 forever. It was acting weird. And my daughter looked at me and she said, "You don't think that could be Poppy, do you?" Because my family was here visiting at the time. Heather and I'd only been here a couple of months, actually, just literally a couple of months before my family came to visit, on summer break, because we moved down here the end of May. And my daughter looked at me and she says, "You don't think that's Poppy, do you?" And I'm like, "What?" It didn't even occur to me. So I started asking it yes and no questions, and literally asked for one beep for yes and two beeps for no, or whatever it was. I don't remember exactly. Could have been the opposite, but that's exactly what it was. It was
That's
my
great.
dead husband talking to me.
That's so
And
cool.
then over the next few months, I would get hits, but I wasn't really sure. And it took me several months for it to really become clear and actually have conversations. And that even would go in and out depending probably on my vibration, how high or low I was vibrating, I would imagine now when I look back at it. It was because there was a lot going on with having just moved here.
Yeah. And
So
losing your husband.
and losing my husband. Not only that, I lost my husband in October 15. I lost my oldest sister in November of 15, and my mother of January of 16. It was a trifecta. It
Wow.
was horrible.
I had 3 within 3 or 4 months too. It does seem to go in threes. Oh,
I don't know.
yeah,
But
that's rough.
I hope that never happens again, because that wasn't fun. But nevertheless, so it was literally my husband knocking on the door that woke me up that I could do these things. Because, like I said, I knew I had good intuition, and when I paid attention to it.
Yeah. How about and then that led to communicating with other guides as well, or other guides and
Absolutely.
spirits? Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Anybody else want to go? How about you, Heather? Oh, you'll need to unmute. Can you
I've got it.
there you go.
Okay, so I remember talking to myself walking to and from grade school. And I know it wasn't just me talking, but I didn't know the name of the person. I didn't realize it was an. I just was talking and getting answers and talking and getting answers and talking all the way to and from school.
Wow.
Especially when I was walking by myself, which was often because two brothers can't be seen with a sister, so. So I often walk by myself, but that was my first and actually the easiest. Even now, I mean, there I carried on conversations, but now I have a hard time hearing to know that conversation. So I'm trying to get back into the same area, but it was easy when you're little. You don't know you can't do it.
It's great.
But I didn't know what it was either.
How fun.
Yeah.
Terry Lee, how about you? You kind of had an early connection, didn't you?
Well, I was a very spiritual child. And so I did hear conversations. I just always thought it was my angels and didn't really, try to identify that too much. I had a very traumatic childhood, so I called on them a lot. So, I would reach out and I did have the clairaudience. And I was always fascinated with being able to communicate with guides and those on the other side, followed it deeply. And then everything really didn't kick in until my son passed away. And then it was shortly after that that the guides, and I knew them as guides then, guided me right into the classes and told me that this was it. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's like not only do I hear, but I get like nudges, and I don't know how to describe that. I know you all know what I'm talking about, but it's some kind of a feeling of urgency inside of my spirit that says this is important. Pay attention. This, and so I really trust that deeply. I trust that very deeply, and I just have felt that. The closer I get to understanding really the whole, when I read Journey of Souls, and the closer I got to understanding about guides, then that really helped me in my readings and I was able to understand how they vibrate differently and begin to identify them. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. It really is wilder than our wildest dreams. But the important thing about trusting, I really, really want to emphasize that because it is very, very true. Oftentimes, I think I find my most powerful connections when I'm just waking up in the morning and I decide not to let anybody else know I'm awake. You know what I mean? And I just enjoy that time. And also right before I go to bed at night. Those are many of the times that I hear distinctly what they're saying. And then throughout the day, I can tell. You get used to it and you can just tell. And they're sassy sometimes. And you wouldn't imagine a guide would say that, right? But it's a playfulness because it's based on love and respect. So
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I know what you're talking about when you're saying they emphasize something, because sometimes I get some insistence.
Yeah.
And they say it again, and like, okay, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Jean, how about you?
So I'm glad that you asked, Joan, because this is really very near and dear to my heart. And Sonia Choquette is one of my very first teachers. She is the one who taught me and helped me learn the language, learn the understanding, the background, and the fundamentals. And I've often suggested Sonia to some of my clients who had psychic abilities and wanted to learn more about the basics in order to move forward. And I often use it in my readings. One of my favorite things that Sonia says is, set them a place at the table, invite them in, and always lighthearted, always, a matter of fact. And she says, even if you're not sure, just give them the benefit of the doubt. That really meant so much to me that I didn't have to have concrete analytical fact, that I could just go with the flow, I often called my guidance angels early on, and I was very sensitive and could feel things. But the ghost in my house, I think, was one of the first things that really sort of broke open the awareness and the awakening. And then I just, couldn't get enough of information and background. But before that, I think I would feel like little energies, like right behind me, following me around. Like I would be walking down the hallway at work, and the bathroom was at one end of the hall. And then I would walk down the hallway, and then we would open the door to our suite, So from the bathroom, I'd be the only one in the hallway walking down to the door of our suite. And I could feel some energy like behind me, following me. And it almost, when we were kids and we used to go like this on the back of the car seat,
And
they
watch
were
other
like
people.
sort of riding in the back seat right there. And I'd be like, and they were like, yep, that's us. Like, cause I would just, I would be thinking to myself, is that, and they'd be like, yeah, and I'm like, what the heck? Who is that? you know, so, and it's really just as simple as that. But we have angels, and we say prayers, and we have hopes, and we cry out for assistance. And this was the real first connection for me. But everybody can do it, and that giving them the benefit of the doubt, just letting your ego or your analytical mind step aside and allowing them that communication to occur.
That's beautiful.
And don't be afraid of your imagination.
Yeah.
The imagination connection's huge.
And speaking of that, our imagination portal expert, Terry Suzuki, what was your first connection like?
Well, I was an early connector too. When I was a kid, angels kind of hung out at my bedside, but I didn't think about that too much. I didn't really, I don't know. I was very, very young at that point. And of course, that kind of drifted away. But I think the first time I really heard them, but I didn't know what to do with it, I was probably about 6, maybe 7. And I think one of my grandparents had died. And I was bugging my mom about what happened, what happens after they die, kind of, And even though she was kind of a religious person, I think I finally annoyed her so much that she said, nothing happens. You just die and go into the ground. You're dead, nothing. And a voice inside of me said very loudly, well, if that's the case, where are we going to go after this? We got to find another place to be then. And I'm like, who are you? I was just kind of like, they didn't answer back. I was kind of like, there's more than one person here. And I just remembered that all of my life, that somebody else was talking in here that sounded a little like me. So I'm kind of thinking it was my higher self saying, just remarking upon that what an impossibility that was. But I never forgot it. And then I think when I finally actually deliberately started to talk to my guides, I did a guided meditation online on YouTube. It was like a hypnosis, and that person, I think it was a woman, that took you to meet your guides, and I met them. And the funny thing is, though, is my main guide, I think probably the one from birth, they've never talked to me ever. I don't even know what their voice sounds like or anything. So I have quite a few, but they don't. And then the ones that I have right now don't actually talk. It's a sea turtle and they're all beings that don't have a voice. And so they just like talk to my head, I guess. But
put thoughts in your head.
Do they put thoughts in your head, or is it telepathy?
I think those are the same things. They just put thoughts in my head.
Okay.
I think it's me. I think it's claircognizance with them. I think also, as I was listening to each of you talk about all of this, I think it's helpful for people to notice that all of us heard them in a different way. So another thing that can be helpful in this is as you start learning about your clairs, how might they talk to you? And it might not be with a voice. It might be with a vision or a thought, or it can happen so many different ways.
Mine's mostly knowing, just knowing. And then telepathy is next. Seeing is rare, very rare. But I see by my feeling and my knowing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And another way you can recognize the work of your guides is kind of in retrospect. And I did that this very day. There were 2 instances. I suppose I shouldn't say it, but I was this close to being late for this event, which was very important to me, but I'd gotten the time wrong in my calendar for some reason. And I was 2 miles away on a walk when the little, "Oh, your meeting's in a half hour," popped up. And it was like, so it started quickly on the way home. But became obvious that this was the second thing that happened. This is that's never happened to me before. It was obvious that my guides didn't want me obsessing and fretting about this presentation because I had planned to get home from somewhere earlier today and take Sonia Choquette's book and go over it again and again and make sure everything was all smooth and perfect. And then I lost that book, and so I couldn't do that. And I thought, okay, well, if I can't do that, I'm going for a walk. And I looked at the time, and I thought I'll be back early. No, they got me back 10 minutes before airtime. So it was, in retrospect, I realized that they wanted this to be a little bit more free flowing and not to spend all that time just kind of being obsessed about it. So I think that's another way you look at what's happened and the results. Yes, that could have been just me being spaced out or whatever, but I think that was
No, you know it was your guides. And it's so much easier to see it in hindsight than recognize it at the time.
Yeah, especially if you're a kid. I didn't realize I was doing all these different things that we can do. But I was a kid, so to me, I just had a good imagination. That's what I thought it was. And that's what I was told it was. So, but in hindsight, no, it wasn't. But it took until I got much older before I saw it.
a lot of people who were connected young are like that, thinking that everybody did this.
Mhm.
That's exactly what I thought.
Did any of you have nicknames when you were a kid? I was, they called me Dreamer because I was kind of out in the clouds all the time. Or
Mhm.
the Sunday school teacher, the catechism teacher would come home and say, "Oh, Joan, she looks like she's just taking this all in." And mom and dad would just laugh saying, "Right, she's just dreaming." And well, they were both right.
That's beautiful.
Oh.
I had a nickname, but not for any kind of a reason like that. I mean, my nickname is Charlie,
Okay.
after my horse, because they knew the horse at the stable before they knew me. So I became Charlie.
Oh,
That's cute.
That's
interesting.
great.
So,
what about
That is cute. What was the name of the book? Is it Ask Your Guides? Is it
It-
that one?
It must be. I was going to have the book here to to
It's
hold
on the
up.
first
I-
slide.
Hang on,
I
it's on
can-
the first slide. Just a minute.
I can put the link
As
up.
your
Ask
guide.
Your Guides, connecting to your divine support system.
Right.
There we go. And after the part, that I kind of highlighted, she goes on to talk about all the different types of guides you have. Runners and helpers and teachers and people that you can call in for specific projects. The
Yes.
runners are the ones that go ahead and can ease the way for you and are very connected to the earth and kind of Native Americans or native indigenous spirits or something. And then the helpers on any kind of project. I think Susan Lynn talks a lot about getting a tax specialist in and just makes doing taxes so easy. So we can all call on all of those for whatever we're up against. And so yeah.
I
So-
call on mine one to help me with the show. Somebody that's good at writing shows. I ask them to come help me whenever I start a rundown for our weekly show.
That's wonderful. You probably have a
That's
whole
great.
Hollywood team up there, script writers and producers.
I don't think so. I think it's my great aunt actually. She was a
And-
storyteller. I don't know who it is.
And when I'm looking up stuff, I'm saying, help me find some good stuff.
Yeah.
Before I even
So
start
do you guys get other? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to show everybody what the book looks like. This is the one. It's Calling in Your Divine Support System for Help with Everything in Life. It's the revised edition of
Okay.
Ask Your Guides by Sonia Choquette. And I just put the link in there if anybody
I see
wanted
that.
it.
Perfect.
Yeah, she's a fabulous teacher and so just really enthusiastic and has a really good way of giving you the she understands how everybody tends to think, and and tells you how to circumvent this and give, you know, it, and there's like a million ways. She doesn't give you one, she doesn't give you five, she doesn't give you 10, she gives you a million ways. And it's, she's just really beautiful in her communication. I think this is her calling for sure, obviously, but it was just a really and the way that you would emphasize to give them the benefit of the doubt. I thought, that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
That's it. And it just release, you know, it was brilliant. She's really, and I love that you chose this, Joan. And I think that it's really important for everybody. I mean, I think that humanity was always supposed to walk in combination or in balance with our spiritual side and our analytical side. And we were supposed to be connected. We are connected. We just have been programmed away from believing it or from tuning into it. And so they want us to get back into that balance. Beautiful presentation. I really love this subject.
That's
Yeah,
great.
It's funny. In that bookshelf used to be full of all kinds of books on lots of topics, including spirituality. And one cold January, I thought, I need to clear things out. And I got rid of just about all of them, but I couldn't get rid of Sonia Choquette's books. So yes, she was still on the bookshelf, and it was exactly what I needed when this topic came up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that any of you out there in the chat or watching this later, a surefire way to tell if you're hearing a message from a guide, is it loving? Guides do nothing but love you. So they don't do negative talk. They don't do critical comments. When I say my guides are sassy, it's more like kind of funny. Never critical, always loving. They're in the realm that is nothing but love and light. And that's why they're committed to you, because they love you. So if you hear a message, you think you hear a message and it's not loving, it's probably your monkey mind, and you just set that aside, wipe that away, and say, hey, I don't resonate with that. I'm pretty sure you're not a guide. So
For sure.
that's a surefire way to tell.
That's a really good way to tell. And
Yeah.
T-Barb said, and funny. Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
and never judgmental. You'll never find them being judgmental. It's super important. If it's negative or judgmental, it's not your guides.
That's right. That's right.
It's more than likely your ego, your monkey mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if you find that it's not your guide, you don't need to be fearful.
No.
All you have to do is say, I don't accept that. I only work with the highest vibration spirits, and they have to obey you and go away and leave you alone.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Absolutely.
that's why all that prep work of getting yourself into a high vibe place and arranging the ask sort of for a way so that you're setting yourself up for a positive outcome rather than a negative one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's great. Has anybody gotten some interesting or kind of unusual or surprising guidance from your guides? Things that you were like, oh, I never really thought of doing it that way. Or any examples you could think of?
Probably hundreds, but I can't think of right.
Can't pinpoint them.
Yeah.
Well, we did have one question earlier from Mark that
I'm sorry.
it's not really about spirit guides, but it was interesting, and I wanted to. Oh, where did I put it? Okay. This is totally off subject. I apologize, but this question. I think I asked you ladies yesterday, past couple of days, has anybody noticed the sky, anything different? Just curious. Have you guys noticed anything in the sky?
As far as
So, yeah, nighttime sky or the daytime sky?
I'm thinking daytime sky for some reason, but I don't know. I don't know. Tell us more, Lark. And Majestic Oracle says, I have sassy guides too. I ask them to keep it real in a loving way, and I respect their guidance.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And loved ones who are different than guides, they certainly, you can recognize them by their personalities. My husband comes in, and I pretty much know it's him by his unique sense of humor and kind of teasing. The nighttime sky.
That's from T-Barb.
Oh,
I haven't noticed, and I very rarely get out and see the nighttime sky because I have so many trees I can't see up.
In my case, it's buildings.
oh, look at what Jenny says.
Yeah.
A picture off of Key West of
I
UFOs.
saw those.
Really?
It
Do
looked
tell.
like dishes, like these cloud. Those particular. No, that's not the right word. Something like clouds that are round, but there was like a half a dozen of them at the same time, and you could see the what appeared to be UFOs in them for sure.
Yeah. I remember we were driving up to probably Marathon, but I had made the comment that there's ships in the clouds, and you came back. I guess it was from David, but because I don't think you'd asked, but you said which one? And I was, that one. I said, "Oh, yeah, you're right." So
Yeah.
it's weird.
It is interesting. Those types of clouds normally will appear over mountains,
Yeah,
like-
you see
When
them
you see
over
them-
big mountains like Mount Shasta. I've
yes.
seen pictures of them over Mount Shasta and Mount Rainier and
Mount
places
Rainier.
like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen them here, and I've certainly never seen them out on the ocean like that. Picture.
No, no.
Right.
You see
And
them
I
in a
got-
place that
It wasn't just
different.
one. There was a bunch of them within a big cloud burst.
Ooh, yeah,
exciting, very exciting.
very.
That's what they look like.
Lenticular cloud.
But
Lenticular.
this was a bunch of them at one time, which was just crazy.
Yeah. We have them over Mount Rainier where I live.
Mm-hmm.
So it often looks like Mount Rainier's wearing a hat.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen them over the mountains like that. But
Mhm.
Sorry, you guys, I was muted. So this one right here, I don't think they're hiding very well. Do you?
mm-mm.
No. Usually, my feeling them there is usually in a regular looking type cloud. A lot of times it's a little grayer than most of the others, but
Look at
That's
those. Those are just crazy.
And look
They're
at this.
cool.
There's something in there.
mhm.
That is really, really, really. I mean, there's no reason for that to be like that. That's crazy.
Well,
I
over
wish
the
you could
mountain-
find the one that was out in the ocean the other day. I don't know why I
Well,
didn't keep it.
I did. I said Key West. So let's see. And then I did images. Do you recognize it? Is it this
No,
one?
it was more like, yeah, right here, down here in the middle on the left.
This-
That one.
Oh yeah,
Look at that one.
that is
Oh,
very unusual.
I think it was that one.
Central Texas.
No, it was something like that though. It was much
Interesting.
more like those.
Like
But
these
it
right
had
here.
more of this that layered look to it.
Wow.
Well, that begs the question, since we're talking about guides, some of us have ET guides or, galactic guides.
Mhm.
Do you notice any difference in communication with them? Tell us about it.
Go ahead, Jean.
Oh, my ET guide stands like this with his arms folded, and he has a robe on, and he almost has like a hood that looks like hair, and it looks like it's folded or flapped. There's something over his head, and it looks like a hair a little bit, like if a woman wore her hair and it would curl under like this, but it's probably like fabric or something, and it's like hooded there, and he's standing there like this, and he's the one who does the finger, no, you don't go there. We need you over here. Like really, really, really directive. But he
Wow.
doesn't actually talk, but he is quite stern. And I do invite him, like he's almost like, I'm here whenever you're ready to call on me. And but he's quite stern, and he's always there. And he came to me in a meditation, and he's always been there ever since. It's almost like that first image that you imagine in your mind is constant. And it was really, it's fascinating. And yeah.
What kind of information does he impart?
He assists me with things that I've never thought of before, that I've never considered before, and never would dream of. It's almost like, those things that knock you for a loop. He's one that would, he helps to guide me, and guide me in the sense of, he's like, keep going kind of guidance. And when I do, it's like, I can't believe that just happened, and it's almost like he's really just my guide. And he's a guide in the sense that he's watching over me and following my energy. Like he sort of like has an energetic type of a connection with me. He may even be me in another life.
Oh,
Mm.
that's possible.
How's that for blowing your mind? See, these kind of things, like what? That's what he does.
Well, so one of the things that I have actually learned about our spirit guides is that they usually are different aspects of ourselves. So they are you in a different timeline, dimension, whatever. And that blew my mind.
Wow.
And it took me a while to put it together, but all of a sudden, this, like, I know that one of my angels, well, my angel name is Seth. And then I asked who my guardian angel was and what their name was. Many years later, oh, their name is Seth. So I'm like, am I my own guardian angel? Yes. Mind blown. Mic drop. Oh, and so then I'm like, so are you telling me that this guy, they're all different aspects of myself?
Oh,
Yes.
fascinating.
I've thought that about the higher self, that, that's where you go for guidance a lot of times, because, the traditional view of guides is that it's just an advanced soul who took you on as like a tutor.
Guess what? It's your advanced soul doing it.
Yeah, and I said, go to your higher self, because they've seen it all
Yeah.
thousands of
And
lifetimes.
the
and
higher
know-
self didn't forget.
Right? Yeah, they know.
Because aren't all of these aspects of our higher self? I not necessarily spirit guides, but say
Okay.
our different fractals that are out
Oh
there.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
all aspects of our higher self. So
right.
Now we're getting out there.
I know. I'll
That's
just
what
stop
I
there and let
Everything,
that
everywhere, all at once.
exactly. And I don't necessarily think that every one of our spirit guides is us. I just know that an awful lot of what we think of as guides are actually different
Right.
aspects of ourselves. I can't say they're all like that. God, I would hope not. I would hope there's some different blood coming in,
Discussions. Well, that's true, because David was a guide for you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that I'm going to jump back to names again, but I had a guide for some time. Her name was Marcia. And it took me a while because I was just starting to, get friendly with the guides and say, oh yeah. And then Marcia came in. And I said,
And you
Marcia.
want them to have some kind
Marcia.
of spiritual name, and it's Martha.
And Marcia. But she explained to me that she had
Mhm.
had a lifetime on planet Earth, and she chose to stay with that name, that it was easy for me to remember because I never forget it. But do you all find, and this is a question I'd like to ask, that they come and go quite frequently? Like Marcia stayed with me for some time, and she was very loving and kind, very feminine, very cool. And then now she's not around anymore, or at least she's not letting me know that she is.
Mhm.
But
I find that they come and go as
Me
well.
too.
Um, I think that it's fun that when my little brother is just kind of starting to come into all of this.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was not a very spiritual person at all, but his spirit guide that he talks to all the time is my grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandfather was also a carpenter, and so is my brother. He loves working with wood. And so
Oh.
what I think is fun is not only does grandpa tell him, oh, don't say that. Maybe that's not the best thing in the world to say, because my brother is a jokester, kind of a mouthy. But then he will also instruct him on his woodwork. Oh, sand it here, round it here. And I thought, well, he's practical and guiding.
Well, my dad helps me with my
Yeah.
watercolor paintings because he loved to watercolor. So whenever I go out to watercolor, I always ask him, and he's just like that. He'll go, "No, just a little bit more this, or just a little bit this way," or yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I think I had different guides when a long time ago I wrote a book about angels, and I think I had several different guides. One to kind of help, well, one for the inspiration, which kind of came on like a ton of bricks, and they wouldn't let it go. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I went from writing stuff from for a big corporation, and it was really funny because I had to kind of just take time off from that career to do this. So all my old clients were calling back, and some of them were a bunch of lawyers that I'd done some work for at a Fortune 500 company. And they'd call and say, well, I can't do that for a while because I'm working on this book project. And of course, that was the stupid thing to say, because they'd say, what's the book about?
Angel.
It's about angels. And then they were like, oh,
Alrighty then.
yes. But it
We'll
was,
leave you alone.
it couldn't be denied. And they were, so that was the inspiration angel, or whom guide, was very pushy about that. And then the business side, it all just got taken care of. And the only thing that was, but then it was fine to go back. It was like, one and done, you're off. And this just needed to be done at this particular time.
Wow.
So yeah, it was funny.
So you have a book out there on angels that we don't know anything about?
Yeah, what's this?
Well, it was done in the 90s. It's out of print now, but I've still got about 60 in the shed if you want one.
Are they still relevant?
No, if you're writing a book, I'll tell you my advice. Don't do a local book, because this was about angels and art and architecture in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And you do the same amount of work for a much smaller audience. And then also don't do anything that is where things change. And there were lots of wonderful photographs of angels in different places. And, some of those places, in the meantime, the churches have changed names or closed down, or, things change that way. And then I also put a bunch of places, because this was new. This was like 92, 93, something like that. And it was very early in the angel craze. And I put a bunch of places where you could go to buy, different stores and online shops. And of course, those are just gone.
Sure.
But there's good angel stories in there. So those are still good. So
I want a book. I would love to read your book.
I think, well, I'll dig, when it's
someday when you're in the shed.
I'll pull them out of the shed.
Well, do you have anything you would like to wrap up with?
I just am encouraging everyone to give it a try and don't put pressure on yourself. And even if you're already in touch with your angels and guides, maybe think a little bit about taking it to the next step. Bringing them into a different area of your life, or bringing in a specialist, or, ask for a galactic guide or whatever you want to do, and just try to deepen that connection. And that's advice that I'm going to take too, because I need to keep up with that. So yeah, anybody else?
Thank you so much for that. I think you developed a wonderful show today. I don't know what you were nervous about. I thought it was brilliant.
And I got in a good walk before.
And you got in a good walk.
Still got here.
Even better. So does anybody have any shows coming up in this week that they want to talk about?
I have a show tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific time with Valerie Dragonfly Crystals. And we're going to be working with and channeling Metatron.
Oh, this is your new healing.
Yeah, and it's gonna kind of kick off a new healing series for me. But
Nice.
I don't know. Metatron wants to do something with us all. So
Well, I think we
really
should
sure
all
what's gonna
join you
happen,
and
but
get
I'm gonna
healed by
be there.
Metatron. Wow, that's going to be awesome.
It's gonna be great.
Sonia would like to know where to get one of your books.
Well, I'm not set up for. I bet there's a zillion of them online for just $1 or something. That from other sellers. It's called A Rustling of Wings, which I love. The name is just by Joan Nyberg is my last name, Nyberg.
Wrestling with what? Wrestling with wings?
A Rustling, Rustling of Wings by Joan Nyberg.
Oh,
I'm just putting it in.
I thought for a second you were trying to say, Priscilla, wrestling.
There is a story of an angel wrestling in
I
the
did say wrestling. I did say wrestling. Sad but true.
Oh, fun. Well, Terry, I'm looking forward to seeing you talking with Val about Metatron. But thank you.
That's going to be great.
And for listening, and we'll see you again next month. Who's up next month?
Next month is Kiguru, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Akashic Records.
Akashic Records.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that is March 4th at 4:00 Eastern. So that's great. Well, Heather and I have our show tomorrow on this discernment. It's our second show on discernment. And so we have that on tomorrow. And then who's Saturday? I believe Dr. Gale's on Saturday.
Yes.
Dr. Gale's on Saturday. So that'll be fantastic. So that's what we're up to. And I hope you all will join us. And thank you so much for being here today. And I hope you'll join us again next month. Ladies, thank all of you for being here. I just love this monthly
Wonderful to be
show.
with
It's
Yeah.
great.
It's always
getting
great
together.
when you're with us. It's always great when you're with us.
So
Thank
thank
you
you so much. And we'll see you next month.
Right.